Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20 and welcome to my mod spotlight on the updated version of Buildcraft. Wow, it feels like a long time since I've done a Buildcraft spotlight, but there's some really cool stuff coming down the lines. Those of you who pay attention in the modding community and know all the ins and outs may have heard that Spacetoad is back. Spacetoad is the original author of Buildcraft, and he was taking a break from modding for a long time, since about Buildcraft 3 was released. So he wasn't around during the time when things like facades were added and a couple of the more recent updates. But he is back now, and he's been, putting some code into Buildcraft. So there's a lot of new stuff coming down the lines, and he has some really, really cool plans for the future. There's a couple things that he showed me that I can't really show you guys just yet, but the current version of Buildcraft is version 5 for Minecraft, version 1.7.2, and there's an alpha of version 6 that's out as well. Version 5 changes the way a lot of things work with gates. So you can see this nifty logic gate here doing something cool, and this guy over here also doing something cool with some nifty animations on it. Very nice. So there's a few things to show you with gates. Now, once we've gotten past the gates, that's going to pretty much cover everything in version 5. We're going to move into what was added in version 6, which is mostly built around the builder. So if you guys remember, old versions of Buildcraft had a block called the builder, which would allow you to automatically build things using blueprints. That was removed eventually because of the way some things were changed in Minecraft, and it just kind of added instability, and it's eventually was re-added. So now we've got the builder coming back to Buildcraft, which is something I'm really excited to have, and I can't wait to show you guys some of the neat functionality it adds. So let's go ahead and take a look at what was added in Buildcraft 5 with some of the gate functionality, like the assembly table and a new table called the integration table. And then we're going to jump straight over to the builder. Let's take a look. Alright guys, so the way logic gates works hasn't changed much, but there's a little bit of a change going on. So why don't I show you what we've got. As we know, we can go ahead and just use the assembly table, and for example, if we want to get a regular old logic gate, first we're going to need a redstone chipset. So throw some redstone into the assembly table, you'll get the redstone chipset. We know most of this from before. We've also got the iron and the gold and all the other chipsets available that we know how to make. So iron chipset is redstone plus iron, redstone plus gold, redstone plus diamond. And we also know the pulsating chipset, which is redstone plus ender pearl, right? So let's grab an ender pearl and toss that guy in there, and we should see the pulsating chipset becomes available to us as well. Obviously, costing a bit more energy and therefore slower to craft. Now there's two new types of chipsets that are available, and why don't I show you to them now. You're going to need a piece of nether quartz, and you're also going to need a comparator to see these guys. So redstone plus nether quartz will get you the quartz chipset, and redstone plus comparator will get you the redstone comp chipset. Now these different chipsets are going to do some pretty cool stuff for us. In order to take advantage of them, we're no longer going to be adding them to gates through the assembly table. What we now use is the integration table, and I'll show you how that works in just a moment. So now that we've got these chipsets available, let's see what we can do with them. So one of the other changes that has been added to Buildcraft here is has to do with the basic gate. The basic gate, as we know, used to not be able to interact with any of the piping wires. And then the iron one could do the red pipe wire. The gold could do, I think it was red, green, and yellow. And then the diamond was all four. Well, that actually has changed a little bit now. The basic functionality of the gate can actually interact with red pipe wire now. And as a result, the crafting recipe has changed. And if we take a look at the tooltip on here, we'll indicate right here that the basic gate can use the red wires. So basic gates are compatible with regular old wires. So let's come over here for a moment just to demonstrate this. We can go ahead and place this basic gate down here, this one down here, and we can use some red piping wire. So no longer you have to jump up to the iron gate level to start using red wires. So we can go ahead here and check out, hey, items in inventory, emit a red pipe signal, and red pipe signals are working. However, just as you might expect, as indicated by the tooltip, you can't use any other color wires unless you upgrade to a higher tier pipe. So you should not be able to interact with the blue pipe wire. You can see red pipe signal is the only one available. If we take a look at the different gates that are available, so let's go ahead and get ourselves the iron AND gate, which says red and blue, the gold AND gate, which says red, blue, and yellow, and then the top tier is the diamond AND gate, red, blue, yellow, and green. So there you go. So we can go ahead and pop this stuff off here, shift right click to get this stuff off, go ahead and throw the iron AND gate on, and then we should be able to put our red and blue wires back on here. And the iron AND gate is obviously capable of interacting with the blue pipe signal as indicated on the tooltip. And what we could do here is say space inventory red. Cool. So this is an AND gate. As we've seen in previous versions of the mod, it works pretty much the same way. And both conditions have to be true in order for the pipe signal that matches to be output here. So there's both items in the inventory and there's space in the inventory. But if not both of them are true, if only one of them is true, it won't emit the red pipe signal. And then the opposite is the OR gate. So if we take a look at the iron OR gate and we pop this guy off here. There we go. We can see that items in inventory, space in inventory, only one of these two has to be true, not both. So with the OR gate, if either one of these is true, or then you get the blue pipe signal. So same functionality. So it's very neat that you can use red piping wire with basic gates. No longer do you need to get to the iron gate level to use red piping wire. The next thing that's new in Buildcraft is the integration table, which I mentioned briefly a moment ago. The integration table is similar to the crafting recipe of the assembly table. You just need a redstone chipset, which obviously you have to make in the assembly table, some obsidian, redstone, and diamond gear. The integration table's purpose is to combine different chipsets with your gates. So for example, as we know from previous versions of Buildcraft, we would normally have to place an iron AND gate and a pulsating chipset and some redstone or something in here, iron gate, if you want, or an iron chipset to get yourself the autarkic iron gate. Well, not the case anymore. Now we go ahead and integrate these two gates with the following table, the integration table. The iron AND gate plus a pulsating chipset, and we'll see over here that it indicates that that's going to get us an autarkic pulsar expansion that's installed to the iron AND gate. So let's see what's happening here. Right now, by the way, there's a bug because I'm using an alpha version. This is alpha version 6.0.6, I think, that I'm on. So there's no lasers shooting down here. So it's just a minor bug just on visuals. But everything does work just fine. And we can see here that we've got the iron AND gate still compatible with red and blue wires, but now it's got the autarkic pulsar expansion installed. Now that we've got an autarkic pulsar, one of the options that's available is now energy pulsar. So just like the old autarkic gates, our new options are energy pulsar and single energy pulse. And what this does is it acts like a wooden engine on the side of the gate here, and it will be able to pull items out of the chest. Now let's take a look. All we need is some redstone and a lever to demonstrate. We can use the following condition: redstone signal on, energy pulsar. Okay, you'll note here as I was flipping through, it thought I wanted things on for other conditions, so it actually activated for a moment. So in energy pulsar mode, when we flip the lever, it's going to start pulsing and pull one item at a time out of the chest here. Let's go ahead and toss some redstone in, and you'll see it's quickly pulling out items. Nice. The other option that's kind of new is single energy pulse. You guys have probably seen this in prior videos, but basically what this means is it's going to pull one item out of the chest at a time every time it receives a redstone signal. So I had 42 redstone, there's now one in the gate, it's moving through, I've now got 41, and it's not pulling out anymore until the redstone signal turns off, and then back on. And then once again it will pull one piece of redstone out. Very cool. So that is the energy pulsar. It's pretty much just like the old autarkic gate, but the way that you install the chipset is now different. The next upgrade that's available is the quartz chipset. Now this is actually a pretty nifty upgrade. It adds a clock timer, and that's actually the one that you saw right here. You can see it's got a clock timer on it. Okay. What this guy does is act like so. If we place this down here, we can set up a clock timer. First, we just have to find a condition here. So we can do a 15, 10, or 5-second timer. And what these guys do is basically can do things in that 5-second time. So you can see that little pulse there. If we set it to emit a redstone signal every 5 seconds, you'll see it's doing exactly that. Every 5 seconds, it's emitting a redstone signal. Cool. You could also, if you wanted to, tell it to emit a red pipe signal every 5 seconds. There we go. So this timer is pretty useful. You can do a bunch of different things with it if you wanted to. We'll see some other stuff in a moment here that you can do with it, but basically it's a useful way to time things. And of course, combined with the and or functionality of some gates, you could do some really impressive stuff. You could say something like, hey, every 10 seconds, if there's items in the inventory, then go ahead and pull something out, something along those lines. Now the final upgrade here is with the redstone component chipset. This will give you the redstone fader, and that's the guy that's spinning around in a circle like that. Okay, so what the redstone fader does is give you access to other strength levels of redstone. So as we know in the newer versions of Minecraft, you are able to emit redstone signals under different conditions. So for example, right now I'm emitting a redstone signal of strength 1, which is why only one piece of redstone is lit up here. If I wanted to, I could also emit a redstone strength of 2 or 3. Pretty cool, right? So you could use this for a lot of other nifty things. You could, control different mechanics. There's a lot of things that are starting to use the redstone strength signal. So you could maybe even say with a higher tier gate, you can have different varying levels of redstone depending on which items are in the chest. For example, let's check this out. So I've got a gold gate here, and as we've seen in the past, you can indicate which type of items to look for in inventory before you go ahead and check your conditional. So we can say, hey, check for iron, check for gold, check for diamond in this attached inventory. So here I've got it set up so that if iron's in here, it'll emit a redstone level of 1. So let's go ahead and throw a piece of iron in. You can see the redstone level is 1. When I take it out, it's off. If there's gold in there, it's going to emit a redstone signal of 5. So it's going to emit a stronger redstone signal when it has gold. And since it's emitting the redstone signal of 5, it doesn't matter if iron's in there or not. Iron's emitting 1, gold's emitting 5, so ultimately it's just going to get up to 5 because, the 5 is the stronger conditional. And then finally, diamond there will emit a redstone signal of 10 as indicated. Nice, right? So there's some very cool stuff you can do with that. Now the best part of these gates is you can combine the features. So I've got the gold AND gate with the redstone fader functionality, but hey, you know what? Maybe I want a quartz chipset on there as well so I can do the clock. No problemo. Just go ahead and throw that quartz chipset on there and you'll wind up with a gold AND gate that has both the clock timer and the redstone fader functionality. Nice. And we can pull that guy out of there and throw the pulsating chipset on there if we want as well. Now we've got a golden AND gate with all 3 expansions installed. So this is a very powerful system that's flexible. You can kind of add whatever features you want, and it's pretty cool. So under this conditional, we could maybe set it up to go down here and just say, hey, do me a favor. Let's see, where's the timer feature? There we go. Every 5 seconds, do an energy pulse. Cool. So you can see here, every 5 seconds, it should do an energy pulse and pull an item out of the chest. Dun, dun, dun. There we go. So every 5 seconds, it should do another energy pulse. And there went another one. Cool. So it's definitely functioning as expected. Every 5 seconds, initiating an energy pulse and doing exactly what we wanted it to do. Awesome, right? So lots of neat functionality if you combine these different gate upgrades. So that pretty much wraps up the gate upgrade system. Now let's take a look at what's been added with the builder. Now before we do too much with the builder, I do want to show you some minor changes made to the filler. And as you can see here, it's a different interface. So instead of before where you had kind of like a little crafting window and you had to put in glass and bricks to indicate to the filler what to do, it's now got a nice little rotational system here. You've got several options. And there's even a couple new ones. Fill will fill the entire area. So as we know, we would set down landmarks and specify and indicate what to do. Let's demonstrate that now. So here's a sample landmark area that we mapped out. We can use the filler just like we normally would, but instead of actually having to specify via items, we can specify with this interface, and we can set it to fill mode, which would completely fill the area with everything that we put in here. So if we grabbed all our stuff and threw the cobblestone in, you'll see it's quickly filling. And how cool is that? Did I mention the filler got a new animation? Yeah, the filler got a new animation. Ha! That is awesome looking, isn't it? Yeah, I really like that. Your other option is flatten. And as you can see here, it's going to just flatten out the terrain to the area. Next option is frame. And you can see it's actually clearing out a bunch of space. Cool. Next option is horizon. Now horizon's similar to flatten, but it only will remove the blocks in the area not up to the top of the world. And then you've also got pyramid and stairs and clear. There we go. And clear, of course, will completely clear out the terrain inside that box. Neat. So definitely some cool options with the filler, a couple new features, and I really like the way that the animation looks when it's clearing out terrain and breaking stuff. It's just cool. All right, now on to the builder as promised. So building is pretty straightforward with the builder. You can set up any structure that you want as shown here. I'm just going to build something simple to demonstrate. All right, that looks cool. We'll do that. All right, now to capsulate this builder area, we just need to surround it as if we were surrounding an area with landmarks. And we can go like this, and then I'm just going to build upwards a little bit and make sure that I've got this whole area encapsulated within the area. Neat. So that should be capturing all the blocks inside the red lasers. Now let's place down our architect table. This is what's going to actually do the job of writing what's called a blueprint. So let's grab ourselves a blueprint, which is pretty easy to make. It's just a piece of lap beads surrounded by paper. We go ahead and stick our blueprint in there, and you can see that it's now captured the blueprint. It's also unnamed. If you want to name it, we'll call it something like this. Dire Test 1. Okay, get another blank blueprint in here, and boom, Dire Test 1, ready to go. All right, let's see how this works. So now if we place down the builder somewhere like here, it's going to not do anything until we give it a blueprint. Ta-da! Now when that is done, it's going to map out the area that's required. You can see that this blueprint shape is exactly the same size and shape as the area that we writ to the blueprint using the architect table. Now all we have to do is give it some of the items that it needs. It's indicating that it needs 14 cobblestone. And if I give it to the 14 cobblestone there, it should build out the structure in exactly the same way that I had originally built it. Ta-da! All done. So the builder has completed. It's moved its blueprint down into this area here, and it works pretty well. Now, something else that's very important to note is it will clear out the area it needs before it starts building. So if you go ahead and place your blueprint test in here, one of the first things it should do is probably clear out the area. Let's actually break and replace this block. You know what? It actually looks like it's detecting already that it's got everything it needs. All right, cool. Let's do something like this. I'm going to clear out some of this area, and I'm just going to fill in a few things to demonstrate what I'm talking about here. Cool. There we go. So now it's actually clearing out the area that doesn't belong in the blueprint, and it's awaiting 4 more pieces of cobblestone. There we go. Only 4 more pieces to match the original design. Pretty nice. I'm actually impressed. I did not realize that it was going to recognize that it was partially complete already. That is awesome. So again, if you've got the wrong things in there, it's going to go ahead and destroy them for you just to make sure that everything is correct. Nice. That is awesome. Well, look at what we have here. It's the traditional 9x9. I've got my 4 skylights, I've got torches in the corners, I've got a chest, I've got a furnace, I've got a crafting station, and of course the bed. Cool. This looks like a pretty nice place to call home. I would really like to be able to replicate this pretty often. Let's get ourselves the architect table. And I'm going to write this to a blueprint, and we're going to call it, dun-dun-dun, the 9x9. Cool. Grab a blueprint, and done. Blueprint for a 9x9. Let's go build it, shall we? Right over to here. And we're going to put the 9x9 blueprint inside. I'm going to take the cobblestone out for a minute, because what we should see is that it should clear away most of this cobblestone that's already in the way. But it recognized that some of the cobblestone that's part of this structure already is correctly placed. What kind of pieces of items do we need? We need a bunch of cobble, some glass, some torches, some chests. Let's start throwing some cobble at it just to get things going. There we go. 9x9 building. Dun 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 dun. Now, by the way, I should indicate to you guys that I didn't capture the floor of the 9x9. If I had dropped 1 block lower in my capturing, I would have gotten the floor here, and it would have required dirt blocks or grass blocks. So I made sure not to capture those. So as we can see here, this thing won't have a floor, but that's okay. It's, hey, even building the door. And note, by the way, that the builder is directly proportional to where the architect table was initially. So if we come over here and look, we'll see that the builder was on the left side of the house with the door here. And we can also see here that the builder's on the left side of the house with the door here. Perfect. And it's built out, it looks like, most of the 9x9 correctly. Awesome. As that's wrapping up, let's give it some glass. Now it's also going to go ahead and start throwing glass in there. And let's see how it builds. Beautiful. Look at that. That is awesome. All the glass is landing in the correct place. Oh, look at that. I'm loving it. What else do we need to throw this thing, huh? We're going to need to throw some torches in there. Go, torches, go. Is that actually going to place those correctly? I'm going to be super impressed if it does. Wow, look at that. Oh, I have rarely seen a mod that can auto-build that can place torches correctly. What else do we need? We need some chests. Let's see how it does with a double chest. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, look at that. Nice. We also need to throw this guy a bed and a door, and a furnace and a crafting table and a pressure plate. Hey, the door's in place correctly. Look at this. This is beautiful. Now, obviously, I didn't build out a floor here, which is part of the architect of the 9x9, but look at this. It built a 9x9 perfectly. I love it. That is really cool. Next up is this incredibly useful block called the Blueprint Library. Dun dun. Go ahead and place your blueprint in this top right slot, and you'll see that it's actually moving this little arrow over to the left. Cool. The 9x9 blueprint has now been stored in the library. What does that mean? Well, let me show you. So guys, I've actually jumped into a brand new world here. You can see I just got the taking inventory achievement. So brand new world, literally just logged into it. I have to go ahead and set my cheat mode on so that I can actually demonstrate this. There we go. And what I can now do is grab my blueprint library. So let's get our builder, let's get our blueprint library, and let's get a blank blueprint as well while I'm at it. So I can actually open up my blueprint library, and I can see that my 9x9 option is available in this entirely new world. The reason this is when you write a blueprint to the blueprint library, it actually creates a file on your hard drive that you can even share with your friends. So I can put this file, and I'm actually going to do it. If you look in the description of this video, there's a link to the 9x9 download. You can actually download this file, place it in your config folder in your Minecraft instance there, and you'll be able to see this 9x9 blueprint in your library. So then all I have to do is place a blank blueprint right there, and it'll go ahead and move that blueprint over. Perfect. Now I've got the 9x9 blueprint, and I can go ahead and place the builder wherever I want, like here. Go ahead and stick the blueprint in there, and it's going to map out the area that it needs to build the 9x9. Now it's obviously not going to clear out the space unless it's got some power, which it doesn't have any power right now, so it hasn't cleared out the terrain a little bit, but that's not a problem. Once we hooked up power to it, it would work just fine. Cool, right? So I'm going to go ahead and upload that 9x9 blueprint file. All you have to do, the easiest way to do this to demonstrate how it should work is go into your world, and if you want to see how this works, use the blueprint library and write a blueprint, and it'll actually create the folder it needs for you. It goes into your Minecraft instance, and I'll give you the folder here. One sec. Let's see, Minecraft instance. You're going to go into your config folder, and then there should be a folder for Buildcraft, and in there should be a Blueprints folder. And in there, there's a folder called Client. So it's your config folder, then Buildcraft, then Blueprints, then Client. And you can just download the file that I supply here and stick it in there, and the 9x9 blueprint should be accessible to you in the Blueprint library. Cool, right? So, as you can see, blueprints are really useful. You can go ahead and build some really awesome building, and if you want to replicate it in your world, go for it. But maybe you have some friends out there who aren't really good at building things. Hi, how you doing? And you want to share that blueprint with them so that they can have a nice looking house in their world instead of something like a 9x9. Well, that's also an option. All you have to do is write the blueprint using the blueprint table right here, and the blueprint library. You can export it into a file, share it with your friends, and then they can log into a world, and as long as they supply the builder with all the necessary materials, they should be good to go. Next up, I want to introduce you guys to path marks. This was available in one of the earlier versions of Buildcraft for version 3.0, but since builders kind of had to disappear, they have been off the table for a little while. But now that builders are back, they are also back. What this does, if we plant down our path mark here, as you can see, I built a nice long path that's going to be followed by the builder, and it's going to basically replicate this pattern over and over down that path. Let's see what happens, shall we? I'm going to give it all the resources it needs. So as you can see here, it's finishing the very first 9x9. It's laying down just the last pieces of cobblestone here. Cool. And it should be getting ready to start throwing its first pieces of glass. Awesome. It also messed up, obviously, the doors a little bit because I didn't have a floor there, but that's my fault for building the 9x9 wrong. Let's see what it does when it's ready. Ooh, it's getting ready to build the next one, I think. You just need to make sure that you've satisfied all the needs of the first house before the last one. So I purposely left out the furnace and the chests that we're going to need to give it. There we go. Now that it's placed, the last down of the furnace and the chests should be making their way over. Cool. Now we can see it's moved on to its next 9x9. So it left a little bit of a space here because of the way, remember I had the torch on the back of the house here. So now it starts off again as if the builder were placed here. And it's going to continue along and build another 9x9. Look at that. Cool. So it's proceeding to build the next 9x9. And maybe I'll even, plant down some cobblestone in preparation for that. I don't know if I missed where the door and pressure plate are going to go, but we basically have an infinitely repeating line of 9x9s as far as you've gotten your landmark line here. Awesome. The next item to check out is the Stripes transport pipe. This was also available in earlier versions of the Buildcraft 3 alpha. When it gets an item traveling through it, what's going to happen is that item is going to be right-clicked like a block, and it's going to be placed down in front of the pipe. Very cool. So you can use this to deploy blocks or whatever you want. And with that, guys, I think that about wraps up the mod spotlight for Buildcraft. So lots of changes in Buildcraft 5 and Buildcraft 6. As you can see, I'm building a long line of 9x9s here using the builder, which are all kind of coming out really well. I'm really pleased with the way the 9x9s worked out. Look at that. It's perfect. There's a little bit of a rendering bug here on the bed, but it's actually working just fine. It's just the way that the bed renders, I guess because it's placed funny, but it's fine. It works pretty much like you would expect. And of course, another 9x9 should be over here, but of course the door and pressure plate not working too well, obviously, but that's okay. If you had a floor there, or if you were smart and actually, unlike me, had built your blueprint with a floor, you probably would be in a little bit better shape. For now, this is Direwolf20 signing off. Hope you've enjoyed the spotlight. There's some really cool stuff coming in Buildcraft that I have seen, but I'm going to wait to show you guys because it's just not ready yet. But there's some robot functionality for automating some things, and it looks really, really cool. All right, guys, take it easy.